All right, we are live. We got to let it breathe. And I got to tell you, I'm going to send up a little prayer to the social media gods that Facebook will connect as it is supposed to this evening. Instagram, what's up? Get Instagram locked in. And looks like we're good. Welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen, and with me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, this is the final show of ours before Broncos Bills. And, we've had a couple of days in between the last show where you and I were talking about a little bit the matchups. We were still mostly focused on the Broncos, getting a playoff berth and the Chiefs game and all that. But with a couple days to go till the actual game, how are you feeling about the matchup?
I basically the same as what Bo Nix said yesterday at his press conference is that it's not going to be easy, but he feels like the pressure is all on Buffalo, that the Broncos essentially are playing with house money, like we've talked about after they clinched, and they can go in there with no pressure and just play fast, play physical, play their brand of football. They can come out surprising the world. It's not many people are going to count on the Broncos to win this game, and they might not win. It's going to be very close, but I'm not among the doomers that's assuming a loss either. Their season might extend beyond this week, Chad.
I got to tell you, so I made a little appearance last night on our sister site, our Bill's sister site on SI. The two Kevins, I call them. Both hosts are named Kevin. It was kind of, I think it was called Going Deep Buffalo. Anyway, it's Bill's SI, but they were, they had a lot of questions and whatnot about the Broncos. And one of the two things I want to bring up, takeaways for me anyway, from this conversation was, number one, the parallels that the 2024 Broncos have to the circa 2019 Bills in terms of a young, unproven quarterback out kicking the coverage as a team. They make the playoffs and whatnot. A lot of similarities between that team and this team. But I got the distinct impression, here's my other takeaway talking to those two guys. They're nervous, Zack. So that same feeling that, and of course, everyone's got a little bit of nerves when the playoffs roll around. That is natural. But this was a little bit more exaggerated because, think back, fans, Broncos country, to circa 2012 and circa 2014, when Peyton Manning gave you a virtual guaranteed ticket punch to the playoffs. And not only that, but like more often than not, number one seed. So you're getting playoff buys and all that stuff. And then when you take the field, there's that level of expectation that you're supposed to be the team that goes out there and dominates and all that stuff. And it's hard to live up to that, especially when you got a team coming in that is such an underdog, Zack, and perhaps a sleeper. People in Buffalo are nervous about the Broncos.
Yeah, I can't speak to the 2019 Buffalo season, but I could speak to what it would be like if the roles were reversed. So if the Broncos were in the Bills' position, I'd be nervous too, Chad. I mean, not only with Buffalo's history, wide right, and everything like that in the postseason, they're, like you said, expected to win this game and expected quite handily. They're favored by 8.5 points to just wipe the floor with the Broncos. That could work in reverse for a team as well. So I like the position that we're in. No one's giving us a chance. The Broncos play better as underdogs. And like Bo Nix said, none of the pressure is on them. They can go out there and just play loose and have fun.
For perspective, the 2015 Broncos initially were set up against the Panthers as 4.5-point underdogs. That then changed to 5.5 points. And we know what happened there. Like, now, a lot of times the bettors know what they're doing, right, Zack? There's a reason the money is what it is, and it's the favorite that comes out on top. But as we learned today from ESPN, I'm going to break this down here in a minute. There's a lot of hope, especially for the wild card round, for underdog upsets. Papa Bear, what's good, bro? Thank you for the early super chat. He says, playoffs, Broncos country, good evening. Hashtag God bless the USA, 1-0. Plus, let's go, Bo, MHH for life, Buckham ×3 in Denver Broncos for life. Yeah, hashtag God bless California, specifically LA County right now, that's getting torched by those. And I don't mean to sound flippant, literally getting torched by the Santa Ana winds and the wildfires. What is it? The last update I saw, something like 2,000 plus homes have been utterly incinerated. Tens of thousands have been evacuated. It's a brutal, brutal scene, and I feel for those people in California.
I do as well. My thoughts and prayers to anyone affected. It's crazy that there's new fires like popping up every day. So my heart's definitely with them, and appreciate your comment, David. I do like what he said here, Chad, 1-0. And that's another point with the Broncos and Bills game is that this regular season doesn't matter. They got the 2 seed. They went 13, 14 wins, whatever they were. It doesn't matter now. Everyone is 0-0, and everyone's on the level playing field.
That's true. I like that. Everybody's 0-0. That's true, man. Sam Bam, what's good, big dog? Thank you for the super chat. One of our Mount Rushmore super chat superstars. And by the way, guys, tonight we're going to unveil the 2024 Super Chat Superstar MHH Mount Rushmore. It's going to be a gas, the top 20 on YouTube. So stay tuned for that. Sam says, evening, guys. It's going to be a tall task, but if the Broncos play a very mistake-free game, I think they'll they will pull the upset. They have the coaching advantage with Peyton over McDermott. Go Broncos. Peyton does have a lot of experience. I think there's a lot of people around the league, Zach, who would argue that it's not necessarily better experience than McDermott, even though Peyton does have the Super Bowl ring. McDermott as a head coach obviously doesn't have that yet. But the one thing you can, no matter what, give to McDermott, Zach, is his team's been in it basically every year for the past 5 years or so, 6 years, whatever it's been. And Sean Payton's been out of it for a minute. And but yeah, I think it's a coaching advantage myself. But do the Bills, Zach, have a talent and experience advantage? That's up for debate.
I saw something on X today that Sean Payton's undefeated, I think, against bald head coaches. So they have the advantage there. But I'm not – my key to victory is not necessarily Sean Payton versus McDermott. It's Joe Brady, the Bills OC, versus Vance Joseph, the Broncos DC. Whoever gets the better of who there, I think, will dictate how the game goes. And it could be a hard-fought, contested game like the 24-22 Broncos upset last year, or it could be a blowout a la Baltimore and Denver earlier this season. If VJ just brings his A game, executes well, doesn't drop coverage, and the players also pull their weight, they're going to have a chance. I keep saying it. I'll say it again. They'll have a legitimate chance to shock the NFL world.
So this will officially, for what it's worth, be VJ's second ever playoff game that he's coordinated. He had the 2021 Cardinals played in the wild card and got obliterated. Let's see. Yeah, we got obliterated by the Rams. But anyway, we shall see. Oi boy 90. Josh, what's up, dude? Took the 60 bus in the house. Says, I don't know why, but I have so much confidence going into this game. It's crazy. I really see us pulling an upset if we play our best ball and outcome the Broncos. That's right. That's right. Did you hear they're making a movie about an outcome the Wolves, and that's what it's called, from the Rancid story? Kind of interesting. Look into it. But Zach, I agree that, yes, you have a body of work and things that you worked for. You don't want to waste it. You don't want to lose it, as far as what you achieved in the regular season. But all the juju and the different negative streaks that have been snapped over the preceding 2 seasons, I got to tell you, if I'm the Broncos and I'm the coaches and the leadership in that locker room, what I'm emphasizing privately when we're talking to our little crews, and I'm a receiver, I'm in the receiver room, or I'm walking around, I'm talking like we got nothing to lose, guys. No one wanted us here. No one expected us to be here. And no one wants us here. So let's go out, play free, play loose, and let the chips fall.
Yeah, I don't know, Chad, if you saw the hype video that Bo Nix put on Instagram the other night. It's epic with Aerosmith's Dream On playing in the background, but he includes a clip of Patrick Surtain saying, why not? Why not the Broncos? Why can't they win this game? They went to Buffalo last season. They beat them. That was with Josh Allen and the starters playing for the Bills. They had a worse offense, I think a worse defense overall. Why not? If the Bills get overconfident, and this is the key, though. Is it going to be Jekyll or Hyde, the good Broncos or the bad Broncos? When the good Broncos show up, they can take down any team in the NFL, bar none. When the bad Broncos show up, that's how you get games like Baltimore from earlier this year or last year.
With my travels this week, I have missed that. I'm going to go check it out. I'm going to actually try and see if I can't check it in between might turn on the mic tonight because I remember seeing a post about it, and then I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, I got to go watch that." And then I haven't yet. So, Ronk, what's up, bro? Good evening, Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Bo Broncos, brother. So good to see you tonight. Thank you for all that you do, big dog, and so excited for you and everybody else that for the first time since nearly a datgum decade ago, you get to watch your team in the playoffs on Sunday. It's going to be so dope. But Zach, it's going to be an early start, right? 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Eastern. Broncos, they've done okay at that East Coast's early starts, and then they've also had their struggles. So it'll be interesting to see how their energy is in this one. Zeus McPeak in the house. Stu, what's up, bro? Talk about the MHH Mount Rushmore. This man right here is on the original first face etch. He says Broncos will need to contain Josh Allen. He's good when he's out of the pocket, does well against the blitz. Vance is going to need his best game plan this year. Yeah, one thing, I mean, we'll go through the head-to-head tonight, second half of the show, but one thing talking to those Buffalo dudes that they brought up is how the Bills offense is the best against, like literally ranks first in the advanced metrics against Zach man coverage. And what does Vance Joseph like to deploy? What's his bread and butter is man coverage, because you get DBs turning their back to the line of scrimmage, right, to run with receivers. And then as soon as Allen perceives that everyone's turned that way, tuck it and run, pick up 5, 10, 15 yards. And so you're going to have to, if you're Vance Joseph, have to have a rabbit that you can pull out of your hat, so to speak, and make them think it's going to be man, throw a little zone in there. Now, Zach, the big aversions we had to zone weeks 13 through 16, were the fact that you didn't have Riley Moss out there, the starter who, all the communication was off without him. Well, he's back. So I think you can afford to be, to pepper your looks and your coverage with a little bit of zone to force Josh Allen to think a little bit.
Yeah, it's easier said than done to contain Josh Allen, especially on the road in the playoffs. But you're going to have your cornerbacks, smother the receivers, make Josh hold on to the ball just a second more, keep him in the pocket, and then bring him down on the ground when you can get a hand on him. All that, again, is easier said than done. I'm not worried about the Bills' receiving weapons. I think PS2 could take care of Khalil Shakir. Amari Cooper is not much of a factor. What I am worried about is that Josh Allen loves dumping it off to his running back, specifically James Cook, who's a really, really good and shifty player. My worry is that he's going to get matched up one-on-one with Barton or Sternad, and that's going to dictate how it goes. And it's not going to be a good afternoon for Denver.
The Bills are definitely going to try attacking the Broncos linebackers and forcing them to cover. That's the thing is you're going to have to do, in order to beat the Bills defensively, you have to not only thrive, Zach, at the calling card aspects of your defense. In other words, the things that you've done well all season, you need to continue to do, but even at a higher level. And in this game, you're going to have to actually do some things differently, or at least execute better. And one of those, like you mentioned, is those linebackers, specifically on their running backs. And it makes you a little bit nervous thinking about it, but hey, it's just one game, right? Just go out there one game and don't suck in this particular department. You'll be all right.
They also have a good pair of tight ends in Kincaid and Dawson Knox. And look what Herbert did, against the Broncos defense with his tight end, Stone Smart, who not many people have heard of, not the same quality of player like Buffalo has. That's just my biggest worry here. I think the pressure can get there. The back end should hold up in coverage. I am deathly worried about the middle, the linebackers.
All right, guys, we have a lot more to get to tonight. Believe that. But before we get to it, listen, the Denver Broncos are going into this game as underdogs, and you want to make sure you get yours as well with Underdog Fantasy, which is the place to play it if you're a sports fan looking to win money while you're watching your favorite sports. And join your football priests and 5 million fans who are already playing on Underdog with their pick'em game. You could win money by making entries with your favorite players, including the likes of Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton. Compete against others by selecting higher or lower on 2 or more players' stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. Turn every Bo Nix touchdown into a win with Underdog.
And with their champs game, you can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats like passing yards, interceptions, touchdowns, and much more. Like, for example, will Bo Nix have higher or lower than 221.5 passing yards on Sunday against Buffalo? Will Nix have higher or lower than 1.5 passing touchdowns? Every dog deserves a second chance, and with Underdog Rescues, you can get your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes your entry to lose.
As you can see here, that's what it's set at this week. 221.5 passing yards. You're going higher, you're going lower, you're going 1.5 passing touchdown set, you're going higher, you're going lower. It's as easy as that on Underdog. So guys, download the Underdog app today. Use our code MHuddle. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, download the Underdog app today. Use our code MHuddle. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Every player, every touchdown. Just select higher or lower on Underdog.
Must be 18 plus to 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
All right. Eric Flynn, what's up, dude? On Super Chat again, saying Bo to slay some dragons in the playoffs. Hashtag Fussboda. Oh. Yeah, I know. I remember the Star Wars puns, Boda instead of Yoda, but I'm not sure. Fussboda. I don't know. You syntax interpreter. I need you.
I'm lost.
Anyway, Eric, thank you, bro. Taylor Christensen, did you guys like the Rocky IV director's cut? Zach, I don't know if you have an opinion on this. I'm not sure I've seen it.
I don't think I've seen it either. All the Rockies, I think, are generally made pretty well. Again, though, I think there's certain ones that are better than others. I don't think I saw a director's cut, though.
George Fox, what's up, bro? I think with us being the underdogs, I feel that the Buffalo might overlook us till we hit them in the mouth. So we keep the pressure. We could shock a lot of people, and that makes us a difficult team to beat. Broncos for life, MHH for life. Hit the thumbs up. And did any of you see where Josh said they're going to embarrass us with the blackboard material? I haven't seen that. Josh Allen saying he's going to embarrass the Broncos. I haven't seen that. But if you have a link, George, send it our way. We'll definitely want to look at that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Ralph Bracegirdle in the house. What's up, bro? Facebook saying it's good to be won or lost on the lines. We match up great. It's going to be won or lost on the lines. Geez, I don't know what my problem is tonight. We match up great everywhere else, containing Josh and getting pressure. First time this year I've rooted against the Bills. Well, look, dude, the Broncos defensive line is legit. We're going to get into this more, Zach, in the head-to-head, but you're talking about the number one sack defense in the NFL and the number one pass blocking, fewest sacks offensive line. So that's like unstoppable force meets immovable object. Which one's going to give way in the battle of absolutes? It's going to be interesting, but obviously one of the keys for the Broncos is not only containing Josh Allen, and part of that's the pressure, Ralph, as you're saying, but Bo Nix and Sean Payton, they have to carry more than their fair share of the water with long sustained drives that result in points, because the longer you can keep Josh Allen on the sideline, the better off you'll be. And one last thing, Zach, talking to those dudes again last night, they talked about how that's, for obvious reasons, the best strategy against Allen, keeping him on the sideline, limiting opportunities, but also that when opponents have succeeded in doing that, he tends to come out and press when his opportunities are kind of squozing down like that. He comes in when he does get his opportunity, presses a little bit, bad decisions, 3 and outs tend to ensue. So, hey, the defense, Zach, yeah, they got to show up, right? The Broncos defense has to go earn their paychecks. But to me, this is one of those fire with fire games where Bo Nix and Sean Payton, they got to kind of build on what they did against the Chiefs B team.
I think George Fox was onto something too with his last comment about punching Buffalo in the mouth and stunning them. That's what I think they did last year. If you put on the highlights, Chad, they forced a takeaway right off the bat early in the game. They picked off Allen a couple times. They just threw off Buffalo's whole psyche, and they took advantage of it. They scored in the red zone. You had that great Cortland Sutton touchdown. That's how you beat Buffalo, is to knock them in the mouth, force some turnovers, and then when you get the ball back, you cannot settle for field goals. Get it into the end zone for 6.
Yes, and for what it's worth, that Cortland touchdown toward the end, man, that was a Russell Wilson prayer. Falling away, chucks it up, right? And Sutton just brings it in toe tap, boom, touchdown. Plus, if you recall, there was the 12 men on the field snafu the Bills had that was the ultimate dagger, so they kind of did it themselves. They unalived themselves, so to speak. Mr. Producer says Broncos were plus 39 in sack differential this year, and the Bills had 39 sacks, meaning the Broncos notched 39 more sacks than they gave up, so to speak. And for what it's worth, on Rocky Taylor, Scott says he doesn't, he's quoting the movie. He doesn't know it's a damn show. He thinks it's a damn fight. Now finish this, bum, and let's go home. That should be the Broncos mentality this week. Keith, what's going on, bro? On Facebook, he says this matchup could come down to the quarterbacks. Is it a game you turn Bo loose in the running game? Yes. Not just Zach with the green light to, run it when he sees an opportunity, which there were plenty against the Chiefs last week, for example, but let's see some designed runs. Eric Trickle had an article, it was Thomas Hall had an article, great article, that kind of went into some of the more advanced metrics on the Bills as an opponent. Suffice it to say, the right side of their defensive line, so the left side of the Broncos O-line, that's where you want to push with the ball.
Yeah, I wouldn't predicate the entire game plan like trying to turn Bo into Lamar Jackson, but if a lane is there, I'm not going to discourage Bo from running either. RPOs, design runs, boot action where he can take off if he so chooses. Yeah, that's a big part of his game, and he picks up so many first downs with his legs. He escapes from so much trouble in the pocket with his legs. I definitely would encourage Bo. If it's there, go out and get it, man.
So check this out, guys. Let me warm whoa, Lady D jumping in.
Thank you.
Deanna Hendry with a very generous super chat. Top rope, Mount Rushmore. She says, we will win. I believe in our team. #win. Thank you, Lady D, so much. We are going to, here in about 7 minutes, we're going to unveil the 2024 list of MHH Super Chat Superstar Mount Rushmore members, and it's going to be a gas. But thank you, Deanna. Love you.
Thank you, Deanna, as always.
But check this out, Lady D. How does this make you feel? This is from Adam Schefter today. I always forget this other dude's name. Oh, it's right here. I wrote it up here. What was his name? Paul Hembekades. I'm going to botch that. But listen to this. Underdogs are 69 and 105 all time on Wildcard weekend. An average of, right here, 1.5 upsets per season. Whoops, just tried to take me off. At least one underdog has won a game in the wild card round in 40 of the 46 seasons dating to 1978, Zach. So if that's not an encouraging reminder and kind of an encouraging message to the Broncos, who are 8.5-point dogs, I don't know what is.
There's usually, like a big surprise on Wild Card weekend. Not every team that's favored ends up, coming through. Kind of like, the tournament. We always talk about comparing the playoffs to the tournament. March Madness, for example. The number 1 seeds don't always win their matchups. Sometimes you have the lower seeds springing in the upset, and that's what the Broncos could be here, Chad.
Fuss Boda, Fuss Force, Bo Row, Balance Dub, Push. I'm missing it, dude. It's going over my head for some reason. Scott, are you getting this? Bro, I'm sorry, Eric. I'm sure it's clever as hell, and we're just being a little daft tonight. I don't know what it is, but thank you, buddy, for trying to clarify. Scott. Phil. Tucson Phil in the house. Good evening, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. I'm hoping Peyton opens the offense up and lets Bo have fun. We need to have Moss and PS2 shut down the outside and the linebackers shut down the middle. Sounds simple. LOL. #Buckham, MHH for life, Broncos for life. I know, and that's the thing is you're going to get that production on the boundary. You will get it. Moss and PS2, they'll do their thing. But inside, it's not just the linebackers, Zach. It's also this needs to be one of Jaquan McMillan's big games. He needs to show out big time. And so again, it's one of those where you got to dance with the one that brought you. In other words, you got to do what you did best all season long. That needs to come out in the wash in this game, and then you're going to have to pull a rabbit out of your hat one way or another to surprise Buffalo defensively to get Josh Allen off his mark, so to speak.
Yeah, I want to just parrot something that you said on the last podcast, is that the Broncos, the talent, they need to live up to their billing in this game. So PS2, for example, the best corner in the NFL could be Depoy. He needs to play like that on Sunday. Nick Bonito, a Pro Bowler, could be an All-Pro. The Broncos sack leader, he needs to play like that on Sunday. Jonathan Cooper, he got a bag before the season or during whatever it was, Chad. He needs to play like he's a multi-million-dollar pass rusher. Zach Allen, the highest paid guy on the Broncos front line. He needs to play like that. If those things happen, they can overcome, a Riley Moss mishap or Barton and Sternad getting cooked in coverage. They need to get the star power from their star players.
Well said. Chris Chances says, and thank you, bro, for the super chat. He says, Zach, a little Sopranos for you. Everyone is counting the Broncos out, like Silvio Dantos said. You're only as good as your last envelope. # Bo Vader. Nicely done, Chris.
It's true. I can hear Sil saying that right now. What I loved about his character, Chad, is that he was so self-aware. He was written as this comedic relief kind of guy, and he was very funny, but he was so self-aware as to his capabilities and the capabilities of those around him. But it's true. You're only as good as your last game, and we'll see how that goes Sunday.
You know what I hated is I liked to believe that his perfectly coiffed pompadour was real. But then when they did the prequel, you come to find out that he was a toupee or whatever, because even as a young man, he was very balding on top. Although the young actor they found to play young Sil in the prequel, what was it called? The Many Saints of Newark. Anyway, he did the mannerisms and everything really well, and the voice and all that. But that broke my heart. I wanted to believe that Silvio's hair, Zach, was real.
The whole movie broke my heart. That was not, to me, part of Sopranos canon, Chad, but that's another discussion for another pod.
I liked it. It kind of casts Junior in an even worse light. Like, like a lot of the characters on Sopranos, they're great characters. So there's times you really love them and root for them. And then other times you're like, oh my gosh, screw this guy. I hope he suffers or whatever. That's kind of the first show of its kind that really created characters like that. Because you're used to, on television, you got your clear-cut heroes, your clear-cut bad guys, and the Sopranos grade those areas. But yeah, it gives you a little something more to think about relative to old Uncle June, so to speak. But okay, guys, let's take a second here. So the MHH Mount Rushmore, this is the top 20 list of the biggest supporters on MHH in the year 2024. Now we had to wait on doing this a little bit because the Broncos season ended up going a little bit longer. Plus some of us with travel in the beginning of this year and whatnot, the first week or so, we had to delay it a little bit, but we have it ready to go. And we're going to give everybody their props tonight and read off the list one by one. And guys, this is just, we do this as a small way of, our way of thanking you. Okay. And we'll be coming up with ways also to further thank and include the super chat Mount Rushmores. But without further ado, let me pull this up. Let's take a look. This is 2024. All right, here you go. Boom. In back-to-back years, the number one Mount Rushmore, we'll do it just numerical order. Michaela Parker, the Duchess, number one. Number two, Deanna Hendry, who's in the room, already threw down a super chat tonight. Chris Hernandez, number three, who's just been going off this season with his force multiplying super chats on game day. Troy at number four, the Fawn Donkey, as he's known on Twitter. Dale DW96734 at number 5, a legendary mythical figure. Naj, also the shot of life himself, at 6. Sam Bam, who's in the room tonight for show, at number 7, so consistent. Gary Palmer, the GLP, who goes so hard, at number 8. Mike Edel at number 9. Now, look, Mike Edel, I haven't seen him for a minute. Have you, Scott? I haven't seen Mike Edel for a minute. I don't think he's in the room right now, but he still deserves his props. He's, sometimes you see it go like this, where people are really engaged. They're at the campfire, then they go away, then they come back. But Mike's contributions before he maybe faded off a little, and I hope it's not forever, he's top 10. The Papa Bear, David McElrath, also top 10. So consistent, much love. Coach Chris at 11. James Moss at 12. Zeus McPeak at 13 in 2024. 14, Rattlesnake Master. That one surprised me a little bit, Scott. I got to be honest with you. In a good way. I was like, wow, really? David Yunkin at 15. Riptide at 16. Cody Dubb at 17. Zach Zabilgaski. Oh, that's a tough one. At 18. Taylor Christensen at 19. And Jasmine at 20. So once again, you see 3 of the ladies of MHH showing out here in Michaela, Lady D, and Jasmine. But Zach, much love and respect and props to the Mount Rushmore Super Chat Superstars. We will be putting this up on all our socials after tonight, and be looking for that. And if we have your social, like if we know what your Twitter handle is or your IG handle, you will be getting tagged. But love you guys.
Some of those are old names who've been with us for years. Some of those are very new names that have only just joined the campfire, as you say, Chad. But we're eternally grateful for each and every one of you, and it's well-deserved. Take a bow if you're on that list.
Indeed, guys. Thank you so much. And again, sorry we had to wait a little bit before we dropped that, but you know who you are, and you're a huge part of what we do here. And we love you and appreciate you so much. So mile high salute to the Super Chat Superstars, including this one right here, the Lady D jumping in again with a generous top rope Super Chat to say, if we can sack the quarterback a few times, we will win. If Bo can move the chains on first and second down on the ground or in the air, we win. I'm really thinking we win. I like both those as potential keys to victory. Like Zach, in a journalistic sense, usually you'll see articles like 3 keys to victory. Like that's what we do at MHH, and Luke's been writing in the last couple of years. Or sometimes, Zach, you'll see 5 keys to victory. And a lot of teams, when they get up there and they do their team meeting, they'll put their keys to the game plan, and whatnot. I would put those 2 up there as bona fide, legit keys to winning this game.
Yeah, I think if they sack Josh Allen 3 or more times, they're going to win the football game and shock everyone. And in terms of moving the chains on first and second down, you're so right. You can't be in 3rd and long on the road in the playoffs. And going back to the question of whether Bo Nix should run more, Sean Payton has to be aggressive. He needs to coach like he coached against Kansas City last week, not like he coached against Cincinnati. Not playing not to lose. He needs to play to win the freaking game. Be aggressive, throw out the kitchen sink, and go from there.
Well said. But yeah, hey, look, if you sack the quarterback a few times, doesn't guarantee a win. You need a complementary performance. For example, Zach, how many times did the Broncos get to Joe Burrow? 7? Was it 7 sacks? I don't know, 6 or 7 sacks 2 weeks ago. Okay. You still lost that game. Why? Because there's multiple reasons, but one of them is the offense took too long to get cooking. And then your head coach didn't show enough courage when the chips were down to go for 2 and just win the game. But I digress. Michaela Parker, so near and dear to our hearts. Back-to-back years, number 1 on the MHH Mount Rushmore. This beautiful soul right here. Love you, Michaela, and everything you do and what you mean to us. And we value your friendship and just so much. I hope you know that. She says, I have a feeling the Broncos will win. I feel it in my bones. Go Broncos. Go Bo. Hey, I got to tell you, Zach, when you're getting tones and threads and vibes of optimism from Michaela Parker going into a game, I like it. Makes me feel good.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Michaela. As always, hope you're having a good night. Excited for the game. And from your bones to God's ears. That's all I'll say.
Heck yeah.
Thank you again.
We got to will it into existence. I mean, again, nobody thought we go back to that ESPN, hey, here's how many, basically at least once a year, there's a wild card upset in the playoffs in the NFL. Well, the Broncos are looking to become the 70th team. The 2024 Broncos are looking to become the 70th team to get an upset in the wild card round since they began the wild card. But the 2011 Broncos were one of those teams as well. They were home dogs to the AFC champion Pittsburgh Steelers. Broncos backed into the playoffs on a 3-game losing streak. Nobody expected them to hang. They had played so poorly, and especially the final way they acquitted themselves against Kyle Orton's Kansas City Chiefs in the season finale, and yet they came out ready to play. They were like, yo, and that's what I'm saying here, Zach. This Broncos team needs to figure out how to capture that lightning in the bottle where it's more of a mindset thing, where it's like, no. We're going to come out there. We're going to out physical. We're going to play at a high level intensity. But the big difference between us and you, Buffalo, is we're going to play loose, whereas you're going to be tight with the pressures of expectations, and that'll make you press.
Yeah, the Broncos can't play scared. They can't hype up the opponent too much in their minds. The big bad Buffalo Bills with the MVP contender Josh Allen, they have to look at the entire team, Allen included, as fallible, as mortal, because they are. They lost this season. They can lose again. You got to just bring it from the opening whistle.
Well said. Where are we at? We're at 35 minutes. We're doing pretty good. We're going to grab a few more supers, then we'll do our head-to-head. Let's see what Max Rio has to say up in Canada. What's up, brother? He says, evening, gents. Sorry I'm late. Hey, we'll cut you some slack this one time. We're just kidding, Max. I think the Broncos will keep it close Sunday. Not exactly a bold prediction, Max. Broncos will keep it close. Although I'll tell you that's what I said last night to those Buffalo dudes. They're like, give us a score prediction. I hate with a passion score predictions. And yet I have to give one at least once a week, Zach, in the Mile High Huddle, the MHH roundtable. But they put me on the spot, and I was like, it's going to be, I think, something like a 30-27 type of finish. But I'm going to keep you in suspense. You'll find out tomorrow what my official pick is. But I guess what I'm getting at here, Max, is I too see the Broncos keeping it close no matter what.
Yeah, all of us obviously want the Broncos to win this game, and they very well could. But if they make the playoffs with the worst roster in the NFL, with the worst rookie quarterback in the NFL, with the biggest dead money hit in league history, and they keep it close in a playoff game on the road at Buffalo, even if they lose in that scenario, Chad, it should still be considered a massive success. So we'll see what happens, Max.
And if that is how it shakes out, it would still be a massive confidence booster the way this season resolved for a young Broncos team. And even those Buffalo dudes last night, I'm going to keep bringing it up because I think this is information you guys would find edifying and interesting. They're like, yo, this Broncos team, if they were able to do this year one with Bo Nix, like, we're kind of nervous about where the Broncos are headed in the AFC. But they hate that they have to play us for more than one reason, Zach. One of them is they hate the Chiefs as much as we do, basically. So they claim. They hate the Chiefs. Anyway, Cody Dub, what's up, bro? A Mount Rushmore in our midst as well, saying first play, put Mims on a go route. Let them know we came to play. Let's get aggressive. Can't go for gold if the game plan is just to survive, Zach.
I think it's a good point. I don't know about the first play. I would prefer the Broncos try to establish some sort of running game with either Estime or Javonte or McLaughlin, but definitely on the first series, call a 9 route for Marvin Mims. And like you said, back the defense off from the line of scrimmage. Don't let them crowd and keep them honest. They can do that. That's a key to victory as well.
If the best predictor of the future is the past, or the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior, Zach, I think the Broncos, we would be remiss to expect the Broncos run game to all of a sudden look like Terrell Davis circa 1998, or even Tim Tebow's rushing offense. It finished that 2011 season. Broncos were number 1 in rushing. I think, you got to get back to, this was one of the concerns we talked about of the Broncos making the playoffs. They can't run the ball. But it goes back to the whole dance with the one that brought you. What were the reasons you made the playoffs? In other words, how did you win? How did you succeed? Offensively, it's about just simply Bo Nix, go be a playmaker, protect the ball, don't get sacked. Give us the plus plays. I think I agree with you, though. I'm not saying you don't try to run the ball, Zach. What I'm saying is look at it more through a lens of kind of like what Lady D was saying. Be productive on first and second down, then let the chips fall. Because if you're productive one way or another on first and second down, you'll move the chains on third down. Dutch is saying, with yet another super chat, love you, Michaela. We are playing with house money. We will be fast and loose. No fear in those Broncos. I love it.
Thank you again, Michaela. And that's what we assume, is that they'll come out fast, loose, passionate, energetic. But plenty of times we've seen them come out in big moments, like I don't know, the Colts game, the Chargers game, and in the second half, especially, Chad. And they become very small. They play tight, and they play scared and conservative and kind of cowardly, if we're being honest. None of those adjectives should apply if they want to win Sunday. They have to be the antithesis of those adjectives.
Fortune favors the bold, baby. And that's what's been frustrating at times with Sean Payton, is he knows that. He's been one of the exemplars of that little maxim, Zach. I mean, look no further than the Super Bowl he won with the onside kick to open the second half. Yeah. George Fox jumping in again. Thank you, bro, to say, I'll say Bo needs to know where Von Miller is so he can roll out to the other side. Even though Von loves the Broncos, he still has a job. Broncos for life, MHH for life. Yes, but it's important to remember that Von is not a starter. He's a situational pass rusher. They bring him in on third down, all that stuff. But he did have, Zach, 6 sacks, and he's going to be motivated, and that's why they pay him the money. They could have moved on from Von Miller this year. They don't. They keep him around because they know they're going to need him in the playoffs. They know they're going to need that experienced edge presence, and Von brings that to the table.
This is why running the ball ideally on first and second down is so important, is not to put Bo in a situation where he's dropping back on third and long or whatever, and Von Miller is pinning his ears back. But even in that scenario, Chad, just a quick passing game. Don't let Bo take any hits. Don't let him turn the ball over. That's how you keep the offense in this game ahead of schedule.
Here is Max's bold prediction. I love it. He says 24-21 Broncos win with a PS2 pick 6.
That'd be crazy.
If PS2 gets a pick 6, whether they win or lose, Zach, it's locked in stone. Depoy, Defensive Player of the Year. But it might already be, right? You've been tweeting and covering this quite a lot. The odds as they've matriculated through each week. Where do things stand with PS2 and Defensive Player of the Year?
PS2 has a fairly comfortable lead in the betting market right now. I think he was minus 450, and which is a substantial lead over Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals defensive lineman. And after him, it's TJ Watt and then Kirby Joseph from Detroit. But PS2 is pacing the field right now, Chad, and I already think, like you said, it's a lock.
All right, we're at 42 minutes, so let's go ahead and do our head-to-head preview here of Broncos Bills. Now I'm going to move to full screen for everybody on this one, and check this out. All right. Just in case, MHH grows by the week. So I got to say this: green signifies top 10 ranking, red bottom 10. If it's black, it's somewhere in the middle. You have a 10-win Broncos club going in to face a 13-win Bills club. The Broncos finished +6 in the turnover margin. That ranked them tied for 10th. And the Bills +24, number 1 in the NFL. So they not only protect the ball, Zach, but they take it away. Time of possession, these teams are pretty much neck and neck. They're literally separated by 5 seconds, 5 ticks of the clock, and both are middle of the pack. Now, this is where things start to get a little offense. Look at all the greenery here for the Bills. 10th in yards, second in points, averaging 31 a game. 9th in rushing, a big chunk of that, of course, being their quarterback. 9th in passing, only 6 picks, tied for 3rd fewest. Only 2 lost fumbles, 1st fewest. 8 total giveaways, 1st fewest. Sacks allowed, only 14, 1st fewest. They convert on 3rd down, 7th, and they convert in the red zone, 2nd. Meanwhile, your Denver Broncos have made some massive headway, Zach. Do you remember when basically the whole top 3 quarters of this column for the Broncos was red?
Sure do.
And yet they've moved forward. 19th in yards, 10th in points. So again, guys, hey, who's going to take that bet before this season started that a rookie Bo Nix offense was going to finish top 10 in scoring? I wouldn't have taken that money. I mean, I'm not a bettor anyway, but I still, even amongst bros, like, hey, you want to bet on a steak lunch? I'd have said no. I wouldn't expect it. Rushing, the Broncos are 16th. Passing, they're the 20th best passing offense. 12 interceptions puts them middle of the pack at 16th. 7 fumbles lost, though, is 10th fewest. That puts them tied for 7th fewest. 19 total giveaways, barely places the Broncos outside the top 10 fewest, but only 24 sacks. That's tied for the third fewest. So that, let's see, Bo Nix has been sacked over the course of a full season 10 times more than Allen, which is small potatoes. The Broncos have improved vastly on third down. They're now the 13th ranked, and then 7th, Zach, in the red zone. So there are some parallels here, but obviously there's a lot more meat on that bone on the right-hand column than there is on the left.
Yeah, the points per game, we say it every week because they haven't been over 20 in so long. I would have not expected them to finish top 10, so kudos to Sean and Bo. But the only numbers I really care about, Chad, are the final two columns. Third down and red zone percentage. The Broncos have improved exponentially, but when you look at Buffalo, converting 71, almost 72% in the red zone is insane, man. It's like they're pretty much guaranteed to get 6 when they get down there. So it harkens back to our previous point. You got to get Allen and keep Allen off the field as much as possible. Good luck.
We move on to the defense where things start taking a turn for the better on the left-hand column, but let's keep it first with the Bills. They rank 17th in yards. They rank 7th in points. So despite their warts, and you're going to see they have warts, they do a good job of keeping points off the board, relatively speaking. Rushing, they're 12th, just outside the top 10, but their passing defense can be had. They rank 24th. That's a bottom 10 ranking. Interceptions, they have 16. That's one more than the Broncos. Both are top 10. 16 fumble recoveries. No defense has more than that. And their 32 total takeaways ranks them third. So this is a very predatory defense for what they might lack in terms of being a dominant rushing defense or a dominant passing defense. They make up for in their opportunistic ability to take the ball away. Sacks, and this was something those fellas I talked to last night, the Bills guys talked about, is, hey, yeah, we don't have a lot of skins on the wall relative to sacks, but it's a deceiving statistic. We get pressure. It's just been one of those weird seasons where it doesn't come out in the wash, and the way it's reflected is up here, according to them, with the takeaways. Okay, so makes sense to me. Sacks, they're 18th. Third down, they have a hard time, Zach, getting teams off the field on third down. They rank 29th, obviously a bottom 10. Red zone, though, they stiffen up significantly relative to third down, and they are ranked 16th. Now, we look at the Broncos defense. They're 7th in yards. They are 2nd in points, so they finished as the number 2 scoring defense. They're 3rd against the run, which is nice. They're 19th, so they climbed up a little bit out of the doldrums that they buried themselves in by virtue of the Cleveland game. Well, let's just say week 13 through 16. What they did against the Chiefs, fortunately, Zach, helped balance the scales a little bit on the stats. Interceptions, though, the Broncos have 15. That's tied for 8th most. Fumble recoveries, 10. That's tied for 7th most. So their total takeaways of 25 puts them in the top 10, tied for 7th. And then that beautiful statistic right here that set a single-season franchise record, 63 sacks, most in the NFL. Third down, they're good on third down. They're just not great. They're just outside the top 10. But where they are great, right here, Zach, red zone, ranked 3rd in keeping teams out of pay dirt.
We're asked whether the Broncos should cut Bo Nix loose on Sunday. There's your answer right there. Look at the passing yards per game for Buffalo. It's the biggest Achilles heel they have. Also yards per play, but I'm sure that ties together. You got to take to the air. You got to be aggressive. This could be a game where Marvin Mims has another long touchdown a la Cleveland. Could be a game where maybe Troy Franklin gets involved or Devon Vele gets involved, but it's going to be the pressure on Bo to make things happen because they might shut down the run or at least contain it. You got to exploit a defense that's allowing that many yards through the air every single week, Chet.
Well said. Okay, we look at special teams. So big difference in terms of the comportment of these respective third phase units, Zach. The Broncos are ranked top 10 in all but 3 areas here, and the Bills are ranked bottom 10 in all but 3. Kind of ironic. The key here, though, is you have a very reliable kicker for the Broncos, not so much for the Bills. And our return game with Marvin Mims, the Pro Bowler, is on point. And we still do a pretty good job. We do an excellent job of covering punts. Not so as good covering kicks, But there's your special teams. And Zach, you can just see over here any observations you want to make relative to Buffalo's third phase standing.
I see kick return average 26th in the NFL. Hello, Marvin Mims or Tremont Smith or whoever's back there. It could be a situation where a special teams play changes the course of the game.
Penalties, though, let's look. These Bills, their opponents get a lot of flags called on them. We always clown about how the Chiefs' true 12-man is that umpire. Well, hey, this shows you that something the Bills do, whether it's taught to the players to kind of coax lapses and discipline issues out of their opponent, or something they're doing that's making the refs sympathetic to them one way or another, that's a statistic for a reason. Meanwhile, look at this. The Broncos, they don't get as many opponents penalties called on for them. And they, thankfully, Zach, I mean, how much of the season was this number one? Most penalties committed. I mean, it was at least a half the season, right? I mean, my short-term memory is not so good anymore, right? The older I get, that's the one thing that continues to not be so hot. But I do remember that. But also, look at this. The Bills have even more penalties called on them. So I don't know. This is one of those statistics where I'm not sure how to read it, how to interpret it, what it all means with penalties.
I can't remember who was this. I think it's Bill Vinovich, the referee assigned to the game, and he's among the lower end of flags per game. So I just hope that the officiating crew lets both teams play on Sunday and doesn't get involved in the outcome of the game.
Amen to that. Look at that. Riley Dixon punted 23 more times than Martin did. Field goals 29. So we also attempted 5 more field goals than they did. Return average on punts, Marvin Mims, this is a Pro Bowl figure right here, 15.7. Let's get to the interesting stuff. So they had 2 players finish in triple digits, sacks, Williams and Bernard. We had 2, and I still just think and by the way, if Moss doesn't get hurt, he's in triple digits too, as a freaking cornerback. When people say, Zach, they need to put him at safety, I cringe. I hate hearing it. But the one consolation when I hear that is he would thrive with how physical he is and just how good he is at coming downhill and just making solo tackles. He would thrive, but he's too good on the boundary to pull him off of that. But it's just cool to see a safety. First-year guy in Denver anyway, too. Jones leading the team in tackles, and then Barton, also a first-year guy getting triple digits. Kind of cool. Their sacks, Russo 8, Vaughn and Epinesa are tied for 6. Meanwhile, you had 2 Broncos get double-digit sacks for the first time since 2018 when Vaughn and Bradley Chubb did it. Really cool. And then Allen just came a whisker short. Interceptions, Pat has 4. They have 7 dudes, Zach, with 2. That's kind of interesting. And then you look at, let's see, receiving yards. Sutton got his second 1,000-yard campaign of his career. That's cool. Mims, interestingly enough, by virtue of that final quarter of the season, Zach, finishes second on the team in receiving yards. Good for him.
And with 6 touchdowns, I think 2 of which came in the Broncos season finale, he's really quietly established himself as the number 2 receiver. That's an encouraging sign.
But they have a 1,000-yard rusher in Cook. The Broncos, basically Williams and McLaughlin combined for what Cook has delivered. But it's also a slightly different method. Like Sean Payton lives and dies by the committee, and that's not exactly the case, although they have a good number 2 in Buffalo. And then passing yards, look at that. Your boy Bo Nix had more than MVP candidate himself, Josh Allen. But the big difference is right down here. Let's see. Oh, is it going to show scoring? I thought it did work. Did I skip it? Oh, yeah, that's right. They don't count quarterback passes as scoring. So I don't recall off the top of my head. Do you, Zach, what Josh Allen finished with in passing scores? I'll Google it real quick. I'm already on PFR. Let me check it out. Josh Allen. So Bo had 29 passing, right? Wait a minute. 28.
Yeah.
28. Your boy had more passing yards, more passing touchdowns than Josh Allen. Hold on. Hold the phone, as Shrek would say. All right, let's look at rushing. Josh Allen, 31 yards, and 12 touchdowns this year. So that gives him 40 total scores, whereas Bo had 34 total scores from scrimmage, counting that receiving touchdown. So, dude, if that's what you're getting, that production is what you're getting out of your, what is he, seventh year MVP candidate, Allen, and your rookie quarterback is in the same, even in the same ballpark, let alone on the same level. That is a very, guys, highly encouraging harbinger for the future.
Yeah, the haters will say it's because Allen didn't play the last game. He took one snap to keep his starting streak alive, but whatever.
Right.
But like you said, Chad, if he's even in the conversation and leading him at all, or at least comparable, it's such a good outlook for the Broncos' future, especially when the Broncos get him some weapons like his own elite running back, his own James Cook.
Here is an interesting statistic from Mr. Producer. All 6 of Josh Allen's interceptions came in the last 9 games. He did not have a pick in the first 7. Interesting, huh? So, like, it's not that he's thrown that many. I mean, it's only 6. Even in 9 games, 6 ain't that much, Zach. But it goes to show you that started off with a bang and then very mild taper, but a taper nonetheless.
And he's prone to having those bad games, and I think he's due for one, Chad, and very well could come Sunday if the Broncos can rattle him.
Here's a big reason. Thank you again, Mr. Producer. I'm gonna turn this into a little ticker real fast. Here's another big reason for the Bills being so good with their red zone efficiency percentage. Look at this. This is from Mr. Producer. Bills had 32 rushing touchdowns. The Broncos had 12. Why is that? And by the way, Bo Nix had 4 of them. Why is that? Because Sean Payton likes to throw it in the red zone. That's just the way he likes to do it. And Zach, even if that was born of necessity more so than like preference, the Broncos just don't have that dynamic running back that can create, you know. Jaleel McLaughlin, he can be a little bit streaky and creative at times, but he giveth and he taketh away, as we also saw against the Chiefs. So kind of interesting. D-Dub, Mount Rushmore, checking in. Man, multiple of our Mount Rushmores in the house tonight, which makes me feel good. I'm glad we did it tonight. Thank you, D-Dub. Love you, bro. He says the line started at -9.5. It's now -8. Okay. A 1.5 change means a lot of bets falling on the Broncos side of the line. Anyway, I'm heading up with the wife to check it out. Holy smack. He says, I'll be smack dab in the middle of Bills Mafia, repping the orange and blue. Guys, he's traveling across the entire Pacific. Well, not the entire, but a good swath of the Pacific, the entire fruited plain to make it to upstate New York. So that's commitment right there. And hey, dude, what an experience that's going to be. We're going to need to have you on the show like maybe next week, regardless of how the chips fall, to hear what it was like.
That's awesome, Dale. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and your generosity as always. Be safe out there amongst those Bills fans, and don't go crashing through any tables before the game.
Yeah, indeed. So cool, man. So cool. Is it just going to be you and the missus? I'm curious. Are you taking the kids too? I mean, geez, as a dad, I'm thinking to myself, man, what would it cost to not only get those tickets for me and the kids and the wife, but the trip, the airfare, you start stacking some dollar bills there. But D-Dub, so cool, dude. I'm glad that we have someone that we know and trust bringing some of that juju, Zach, to that game.
Yeah, that's awesome, Dale. Thank you again.
Okay, guys, listen, I hate to disappoint you, but you know how it works. Was what we've done all season. Tomorrow morning, just before lunchtime, really, we'll have the Mile High Huddle Roundtable article published for our official predictions. I don't know. Should we spoil it? Are you certain of your prediction right now, Zach?
Not yet. Honestly, not yet.
All right. We'll wait. Okay, so look for that article tomorrow about lunchtime, our official picks and score predictions. But I'll tell you right now, I started off the week, Zach, feeling kind of neutral about the game. Because this happens emotionally. But kind of like D-Dub just mentioned with the betting line where they're dropping it because so much money is going on Denver's side. as the seasons marched on, I did a little traveling this week. I did that podcast with the Bills. I could hear it in their voice, let alone the content of what they said, Zach. They're a little bit nervous. Now, they're expressing those nerves through the guise of we're a 13-win team or whatever, right? Like, and we're that team that keeps getting knocked out in the divisional round. We only got to the AFC Championship game one time. He's talking about the Josh Allen Bills, not the history of the Bills, all right? But they feel, Zach, they're feeling a little bit, maybe more than a little bit apprehensive. And so I'm starting to feel my optimism meter and confidence meter is starting to climb. So like Zach, I'm not 100% right now on what I want to tell our listeners and our community, but we'll have that for you about lunchtime tomorrow.
It's the devil and the angel on both shoulders for me, Chad. I can really see this game going either way. My heart says something, my brain says another. What do you go with? But we'll keep it in suspense until tomorrow.
Zeus saying, have a great time, D-Dub. So cool, dude. All right, guys, a mile-high salute and a special shout-out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters tonight, helping us keep the lights on, like Sam Bam, the Oi Boy, Josh, Papa Bear, David McElrath, Zeus himself, Stu McPeak, Eric Flynn. Sorry we couldn't quite understand the hashtag, but we love you. You know that, Eric. Taylor Christensen and his Rocky, George Fox, The Ronk, Ralph Bracegirdle, Keith Brugman, Phil McLaughlin, The Lady D, Deanna Hendry, Chris Chances. Let's see, multiple Lady Ds, multiple Ronks. Have I said the Ronk yet? I'm not sure if I said the Ronk yet. Yeah, I had. Okay. The Duchess, Michaela Parker, Max Rio, George Fox, and then, of course, D-Dub going to represent the Broncos and MHH Sunday in Buffalo. And then here he is again.
Thank you, Dale.
Bro, he's like, it's just me and the missus. Okay. If we win, guess where I'm going to go? LOL. A little harder to get tickets at KC, but nothing would make me happier than a rookie Bronco QB taking KC out. Something worth seeing. I believe that you'll be there. In fact, I mean, maybe the universe wants you to be there. Maybe the universe wants to see you and the missus at Arrowhead in the deep, deep, deep heart of Chiefs Kingdom to witness and observe and testify on behalf of Bo Nix ending the three-peat. I mean, how poetic would it be, Zach? I mean, I'm starting to get excited even thinking about it, but first things first.
Thank you so much, Dale. And just the thought of the Broncos going on to Kansas City and then upsetting them too gives me goosebumps. You mentioned, destroying the Chiefs' hopes of a three-peat, but also getting a little revenge on the first matchup with the blocked field goal, a game the Broncos should have won. Getting a little vindication for the second matchup, a game the Broncos are being clowned because they played backups. They played the Chiefs' backups that game. You go there, you play Mahomes at home divisional round, you get that, oh man, literally skin tingling now.
Oh, yeah. Really cool, dude. Well, we're going to be rooting for that, Dale. You know that, bro. The Ronk, great show tonight. Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Bo Broncos. Thank you, bro. And Zach's got a few things for you here, but can't wait to see you guys on Sunday for the gut reaction.
A tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. Another reminder, as always, to follow us on X at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle. Chad at Chad and Jensen, and myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out mhhmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, drop us a like at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, very important, you subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
Love you guys again. Mile High Roundtable by lunchtime tomorrow. We'll see you, Zach and I, Sunday at the final gun. Gut reaction, no matter which way the chips fall. Have a great weekend. Keep those positive vibes and positive juju going, but stay loose. We need the Broncos to stay loose.
And stay away from buffalo wings until Sunday. Have a great start to your weekend. We'll see you Sunday. Take care, and as always, go Broncos.